Hello, Dental Team listeners. This is Kiera, and today I am so freaking pumped to introduce you to one of my dearest friends, someone who has transformed my life, and that I just cannot wait to introduce to this audience. Welcome to the show, Laura, my personal trainer, macro guru, the one who knows all the things, who's helped me through so many personal injuries, and actually has been able to make a busy life work with working out. Laura, welcome to the show today.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm so happy you're here because I think that you have changed my life. And you and I were chatting at the gym the other day, and we actually talked about, well, I work with dentists. Dentists are very busy. Entrepreneurs are very busy. Office managers are very busy. And yet figuring out how to fit in this working out, eating healthy, taking care of ourselves. And you made a comment. You said, Kiera, they invest in their businesses, but their businesses require them to be their highest self. Let's do a podcast and talk about that. So I'm super jazzed to have you here today, talk about all things. And as a fun side note, I did look up some data, and believe it or not, if you work out, you make more money. So let's just add a little plug there too. But Laura, let's kind of tell our listeners a little bit about you. How did you get into working out? How did you get into being this macro fitness guru that you've become that's changed the lives of so many? Kind of just walk us on your journey today.
Yeah, I would love to. My journey started in college. I, like many other women, grew up insecure, judging myself, comparing myself to other women. And I just came to a point in college. I remember the moment where I just realized, I don't want to live my life this way anymore. I want to feel confident. I want to feel strong. I felt disconnected to my younger self in a way. I grew up, not necessarily in high school, more like actual elementary school. In my childhood years, I was very active. I did sports, I did gymnastics. And then you get into high school. I didn't do anything in high school. And then comes college, and I just felt very disconnected to myself. And I wanted to get back to that playful, confident, able person, able to do the things I wanted to do. And so I started going to the gym, had no idea what I was doing. I would just climb the Stairmaster the whole time. And slowly, the gym I was working out at was kind of, the Stairmasters were upstairs, and you could look down into the rest of the gym. And I would just see, at that time, this was like a decade ago or more, there were no women in the gym, and all the girls were upstairs on the ellipticals and the Stairmasters, and then all the dudes were downstairs. And I don't know, I started to see what they were doing and copied a little bit, did a couple of the machines that I knew how to do, started to get hooked, and was like, you know what if I made this a career? And I got certified in 2014, and the rest is history. I mean, there's actually a lot more to it, but that's basically how it started. And fast forward to now, I feel extremely connected to my younger self through my movement. I have created a beautiful life that I'm able to do what I love, and help other women connect to their own bodies and their younger selves as well.
I love it. And I love that you went through this journey, because I think so many of us, well, I'll speak for myself. I'm not going to speak for all the listeners. I feel like an idiot at the gym. They have reels about people at the gym of idiots using equipment. So many times when we're at the gym, Laura was originally virtual. We started out virtual, and I actually want to get into virtual versus in-person training, and if there's a difference, because when people are busy, there's solutions that way. But I feel like such an idiot. And I think something that you've done for me, and that's why I wanted to bring you on here, is because I feel like I was the worst workout person in the world. Honestly, I feel like Laura should have fired me as a client. So we had a really rough start. And I think it was honestly fear of my, where I was at, fear of not knowing what I'm doing. Also, I do run a busy life. Laura, you told me I'm the second busiest person that you know, second to a lawyer. So I felt like that was all right, my life is a little bit more exciting. But I also had a lot of injuries. And so that was why I hired a personal trainer, is because I was actually losing so much muscle mass that I was starting to get more injuries, because the current injuries were causing me not to do anything, which then was leading to more problems. And so I was thinking about how many dentists and how many team members do we sit there all day long? We're very sedentary. I remember as an assistant and doctors, you're like, I don't sit. I don't even have time to pee, which I get. I hear you. but we're sitting there and yes, you're ergonomically correct, but it's like we work all day long. Where do we actually put in time for this body that's serving us, that's creating like the experience for our patients? Like, where do we do that? And so even in the time Laura and I worked together, I changed it from working out to honoring my body. And so Laura, I really wanted to dig into this of like, you've worked with a lot of people. You're a personal trainer. You're freaking genius at it. I love that you have modified so many workouts for me to be able to lift, to get strong. Like just yesterday we were working out and we saw back muscles on me. And like, that's something I haven't had for 7 years. And so I'm excited because coming from a space where I couldn't lift, I couldn't squat, I couldn't lunge, like literally none of those things were in my life. I have a very strong issue with food. I grew up anorexic most of my life. And Laura, I know that you've been on a journey with that as well. And I think just all these different factors, I'm busy, people are busy. You were able to find like this like little crack of sunshine in my life and then expand it more to where in my week, I look forward to working out. We've like reworked my schedule to make that a priority. Mm-hmm. And so I'm just curious, you work with a ton of people. You worked with me. let's bring this to the table. How do people, when they're so busy, when they're so exhausted, when they've got the kids, they've got the job, they've got all the people, like, how do you even start working out? How does this even become a reality for people? What do you tell people when they're in that spot? Because I think every person listening to this podcast is probably there.
Yeah. I think we all have some desire inside of us to move. Humans want to move and life gets in the way. And I think the determining factor of are you going to do this or not is, are you willing to think deeply enough about why it's important in your life? Like, what happens if you don't do this? Take yourself 5, 10 years, 15, 20 years down the road. What does life look like once you've retired and you have all this money to spend and all this adventure to have, but your body is not working properly and you can't truly experience life in the way that you want because your body is failing you? Like, take yourself there, take yourself to that hard reality that if you don't figure this out, you're going to have this experience of life. Or what if you do? Look at your life 1 year from now. If you decide to just commit 30 minutes a week, even if it's 10 minutes at a time, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 10 minutes, first thing in the morning, I wake up and I get on my Peloton, or I do 3 sets of 20 squats. Like, just start so small. What does life look like in a year if you start that now and you don't stop? In 10 years, in 20 years, the trajectory of your life will be so different. And I think that is the, like I said, determining factor whether or not someone commits to this for the long haul. You have to be very realistic about your situation and what you want out of life. You know, we're so serious about building businesses and making money and being successful, but what happens once you get there and you don't have the vessel to carry you through? That's scary to me. So
I agree.
That's where I take people.
I completely agree. And I love that you did this because like at Tony Robbins, he calls it the like Ebenezer Scrooge experience where he literally makes you walk down. It's like terrifying. You hear all these like thousands of people screaming like how awful it would be. But I don't think we actually like make this as much of a reality. I don't think we see it. And for me, I thought, okay, I really do have a vision of myself. Tiff will tell you, oh gosh, it's awesome. Tiff and I have committed that we're going to be like 98-year-old grannies. I'm going to have cotton candy pink hair. She's going to have cotton candy blue hair. We're going to be driving Jazzies with NOS, like not because we have to, but just because we want to. We'll have our own drones. Like, I got this whole vision, but I thought about it and I thought, if I don't have a body to get me between, let's say 35 when I started thinking about it to 95, like that's a huge span of time. We're talking 60 years. I can't just hope and pray that my body is going to last. Like, this is an engine. And I remember thinking, I love cars. I really love cars. And I thought like, oh, Kiera, if you had a Ferrari sitting in the garage, how would you take care of this? And I'm like, I'd put the highest level of gas. I would wash it. I would like keep it protected. I would drive it so kind. And I remember I was on a podcast with another person and they said, you literally, your body is $1 billion. That's with a B as in body, $1 billion asset. Do you treat it that way? Mm-hmm. And I thought, well, if I'm willing to give that love and care to a Ferrari, what if I thought about my own body as a Ferrari and how would I treat it? And it's crazy because for me that worked. And I started thinking like, I would eat better. Like, I truly would take care of it. I would work out. I would prioritize it. And just like you said, starting with where we are, I think like any amount of movement is going to help. So even reading the book, Atomic Habits by James Clear, he talks about like habit stacking and just starting. And like other books, Essentialism, they talk about if it's too hard, we don't start. And so it's that startup effort. So I love, Laura, where you're like, okay, you get out of bed and you do one squat. Fantastic. Like you could start there and that's not as hard, but I think we go from like 0 to 700. And I think that's the gap. And so like, let's dive into, all right, I'm committed. I've decided I see the Ebenezer Scrooge. I see where I'm going to be. I've got 60 years that I need to keep this amazing body that's I've been blessed with going. I also think about, here's another thought that's helped me too, of this body is not Kiera. This body is something that Kiera was given to take care of, just like a business, just like a team. And I've thought about my body and I'm like, when I separated the thought of like, I am this body, and I started to see this body allows me to have life. This body allows me to podcast. This body allows me to work. This body allows me to work with clients. This body allows me to do all the fun things, to travel. And if I don't take care of her, A, like, who am I with this body doing so much for me? And B, how can I take care of her even more? So it kind of became this fun game of like, this isn't for me. I'm good at serving a team. Why not serve my body as well when I realize that's not me? So if that helps you as well. So, okay, we're here. We're committed. Laura, it's like kicking off the new year. We're going to work out. Like, do they need a trainer? What's the purpose of having a trainer? Like, can I do this on my own? Do I need a trainer? Is virtual or in person better? What are your thoughts around that? Because obviously I went for a trainer because I'm really terrible at accountability. And also I had injuries and I didn't want to hurt myself. But like, how do you coach people through this?
Yeah, I think, and this is speaking from personal experience too, I also need the accountability. I love having a coach. I think having someone on your team, like linking arms, let's do this, here are our goals, is such a useful tool. And if you don't show up, you're not only not showing up for you, your body, but you're also not showing up for this person that's linked arms with you and put in effort and, like actual love. Like I will just say, I truly love working with my clients. I don't speak for all trainers, but I do know so many trainers that feel the exact same way. Like you really, it's, I don't know how to say this. I'm like about to say emotional attachment, but you really do become so attached to your clients and so committed to their goals that when they stop showing up or something happens and they get sidetracked, it affects you as a trainer too. So what I'm trying to say is if you feel like you need that accountability, 100% get a trainer, find a trainer that you connect with. Don't just go to a random, you can do this, but it's not my recommendation, going to like a chain gym. I won't name any names of gyms, but just a chain gym where there's trainers there. They're paying their trainers minimum wage. These people probably have very little experience and are not looking to create that relationship with you. I think it's important to find someone that you really connect with that feels like an ally and listens to you, sees you. That is very important. As far as online versus in person, it's completely what the plan that's going to work is the one you can stick with. So if you can get to a gym and you can see someone in person, you found someone in person that you connect with, great, go that route. But a lot of busy business people cannot do that. I have a lot of entrepreneurs and moms that can't get to the gym. So they do 30-minute at-home workouts and they follow a workout on an app, and that works beautifully for them. If I were to tell them you have to come in person, they would not be able to make it happen. So it's very different from person to person. You just need to check in with yourself and figure out what would work best for you. Try it, see if it works. If it doesn't, make a change, and so on. But there's either way, in person or online, we have technology on our side nowadays. There's so many beautiful ways to get quality coaching through virtual. So I think a lot of people have this like stigma against online coaching because they're like, I want to make sure I'm doing everything right. I don't think I'll show up for myself, but truly looking at my own program, and you might agree or disagree, but a lot of the clients that I have online are held even more accountable than the people that I have in person because it's just a more robust program. So it's very different than a lot of people expect.
I agree. And I did not expect virtual to be as good. I had done virtual in the past, and I had someone who told me, this trainer, she told me, she said, Kiera, I'm actually not your coach. I'm just a programmer for you. And I remember that like cut me deep, because I thought like, no, you did link arms with me. Like, I want you to be as invested in this as I am. And meeting you, Laura, I purposely chose you because you're here in Reno, and I was like, no, I want to go in person. And I actually think something very lovely about virtual, and I will speak, your virtual was much different than other people's virtual. Like Laura she doesn't mess around. It was an hour every single week where we would actually meet. We went over every single one of my workouts that I had completed. We did videos. And what I actually loved about that was being able to watch myself. And with you, I started to pick out like when my moves weren't great. And something I loved about starting virtual and then going in person was, I feel like I mean, you say it so nice. You say like, let's pretty up that movement. Like, let's make this prettier to where we're doing the move. And by prettying it up, it's not like I'm trying to look pretty. It's we're making perfect moves so we don't hurt ourselves. We're working the muscles better. And it's crazy because I think I was so like hypersensitive. I would start to catch it in the mirror. I would start to catch things. I'm like, oh, Laura's not going to like that. Like, move my shoulder, get myself more of a statue, because you forced me to watch my videos, because that's all we had to do together. And so that was something I really liked about virtual. In person, I think I lift harder, and I push myself harder because you're sitting there right next to me, and I'm like, I want to quit. And you're like, let's go, let's go, let's go. So that is, but it is interesting because we don't record me when I'm at the gym. I love when we do record, because then I can see the little movements. But at home, I'm forced to watch myself more than I am at the gym. So I think those are two pros and cons. But Laura, I'm curious. There's so many trainers out there, just like there's consultants out there. Like, how on earth do I sift through the noise and pick like someone who actually knows what the heck they're doing? Because I did research on you to make sure you were actually a good trainer. I was ready to invest in myself. But like, what questions do we even ask for? Like, are you a good trainer? Do you know what you're doing? Do you not know what you're doing? How do I like sort through that noise?
Yeah, I think that experience is important. I think some people have a natural skill to be able to connect with people and see how a body moves and know what changes need to be made to make it move properly. But it is like, it takes a long time to master how to communicate with people. I do think I had, not to toot my own horn or anything, but I feel like
I brought you on the podcast because I think you're a freaking expert at this, and I think you do really well. And I worked with other people, and that's why I brought you. So like, toot your own horn, because I sifted you out of a lot of people, and I picked you intentionally because I knew you had eating disorders that you had dealt with, and I know food's a big portion, which we're going to talk about food next. I also checked with a bunch of people that I trusted to see, like, does Laura actually know her stuff, or is she just another like nonsense trainer out there? Like, and not nonsense trainer. I get that everybody's trying their best, but I needed somebody who is more experienced, who knew with having injuries. I wasn't like, I got hurt really bad with my other trainer to where I couldn't walk for almost a month because like I told her I had a knee problem. She didn't make sure that I did it correctly. And lo and behold, I then like basically blew out my knee for an entire month. So like, how do we not get those issues and those injuries?
I mean, know what you need. First of all, go into your consultation. Hopefully you're doing a consultation with these people. If they don't require it, ask for it. Ask for a meeting first before you commit to anything, and ask them about their experience. Tell them your situation and what you're looking for exactly. And if someone I feel like we're all pretty, I feel like we can read people, as humans, we can read people. You can tell typically if someone is like bullshitting you or telling you straight up. I will be the first person to say, I do not know everything, but I am willing to put in the work, do the research to try and figure out some solutions for you. And if I can't, I will refer you out. I have no problem referring you out. So I think experience and honesty are like my two things to look for in a trainer when you're doing your consultations. Just and then connection. You know what I mean? Like, do you see yourself being able to build a relationship with this person, but also see them as coach, not a best friend, as coach, and respect them. I'm trying to think, like, how can you determine if this person from a beginner's mindset, looking at, say, Instagram, because let's just be honest, that's where we find a lot of our people, looking at how someone moves. I don't know, Kiera, tell me, if you're like on Instagram and you're seeing a random trainer girl and you see her doing some moves from a beginner's mindset, can you tell if she's doing, if she's connected, or do you have no idea? I don't know. I'm not in a beginner's mind. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to figure out how to to offer
Yeah.
that advice, like find someone who knows how to move their body.
I don't think my eye was definitely like clued into it. I
Yeah.
think things I looked for was, does that person like look the way I want to look? Because
Mm.
I feel like if
Are
so,
they walking the walk?
I mean, I want to look like them. So that was one thing. It's funny, Laura and I thought we were the same height when we were virtual training. And then in person, Laura's like a foot shorter than me. So that's always entertaining when I'm like, girl, that needs to go up a little higher. Like that bench is going to like cut my legs in half. Like it needs to go up. So
Yeah.
that was kind of a funny random, but I look for that now after working with you. I definitely can spot. And at first I was judgy about it. And you did a good job of helping me see, like, we're not judgy. We're just like wanting to make sure people take care of their bodies. And so like looking for, I think a good trainer, watching the movements, you like get on me all the time of like, Kiera, don't go through the movement quickly. Like go through it slowly. I want you super connected. Like if we're doing my lats, you showed me a picture and you're like, I want you to visualize those lats. I want them like sucking down. I want you pulling, like right now I'm doing it. I feel those lats engaged back there. But I think something I really loved was even having a trainer watch like maybe a squat or something and asking them like what they see for feedback. Laura, you're not afraid to give me feedback. You're not afraid to say like, hey, like right there, you need to like yesterday, you're like, get that hip up. And I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about. My hips feel very up. And then it was like just a quick tilt of the hip. And instantly the movement felt a lot stronger. So I think like those things as a beginner's mindset really can help out, because what I found is you are so meticulous about making sure my movement is not sloppy, that I'm connected. Like there was even a day I was picking up weights on my video. So it wasn't even the workout. And you're like, Kiera, watch it right there. Because when these weights get heavier, you're going to hurt your back and you need to lift these properly. And so I really think as a beginner, maybe even taking a workout, this sounds so funny, but like, hey, could you just like tell me what you'd like critique on this squat? You don't even know what the heck they're doing, but almost like taking that to the consultation. Yeah.
I like that idea.
Now I can see it. I can see it a lot more, but
yeah, as a beginner, hard to know. And I mean, sometimes you can scroll through someone's feed and see like what is their, do they find important in workouts? What are they posting about? What do their workouts look like? Are they slow? Are they connected? Or are they just like rushing through? And I think you could spot a couple things, but yeah, asking specific question as far as like, what will we focus on when we're working out? Ask them what is your skill level on critiquing technique? Yeah, that piece is a little hard to figure out as a beginner, and talking to trainers. That's something to think on.
And that's something I feel like you were so adamant with me about getting my movements perfect without adding weight. Because I think a lot go to like wanting to get results. And for you, you don't care if my body's not changing very much at the beginning. If I'm not mastering my movements, that's going to be what you're going to be core focused on until I get those right. And I think to me, that's what I care about, because once you master the movements, then you can lift the weight. Like we're doing heavier weight than I ever thought. And I'm coming as a girl who could not squat, could not lunge, could not do any of that. Like Laura, kudos to you. You were able to work through it so much. So maybe even pretend you have all of my ailments when you go into the consultation and see, could they help you? And then you'd really know. But
just ask Kiera to do the consultation with you and she'll tell you.
But that's something I really do love, because Laura does do virtual. And so if you don't live in Reno, she was incredible. We did almost a year virtual before I went in person. And so I think like mastering the techniques and getting into the workouts, and like you hunted me down. And for some people, virtual doesn't work, but I think for a lot of people, giving that a go, I think is super helpful. But I really want to quickly pivot, because it's going to be controversial, Laura, and I can't wait. And I didn't prepare you for this, but I think you'll have a good answer. Let's say I'm looking at this and I'm like, okay, I'm going to work out. But I hear like calories in, like abs are made in the kitchen, not necessarily at the gym. So what's more important to you? Is it my diet and my macros, which we'll get into macros in a second. I had no clue what it was. Or is it like technique and workout?
Oh gosh, that's an impossible question. Absolutely impossible. It definitely depends on what your goals are. What I think everyone's goal should be is to age in a graceful way. That's such a cliche thing to say, but to be healthy, to be healthy and feel your absolute best and be able to show up for your family as you age. So, and with that goal, both of those things matter. If you're not,
I knew you'd say both.
I can't pick one or the other. I absolutely can't. And then if we go to the other goal that a lot of people have, which is aesthetics and like looking a certain way, both also matter very much. And it depends on like your body type, you know? So I can't give you a straight answer.
Okay. Well, let's talk food, because this was like, I think Laura and I talked, I think on our last like virtual session, and we were like debating if we wanted to continue. And I said, I like workout Laura. I don't like food Laura. Yeah. And you said, I like workout Kiera. I don't like food Kiera. So let's talk about food because for me, food was actually a really tricky thing. It was something I did not enjoy. But like, can we just touch on macros and like why you find macros important and what macros even are for those who don't even know what the heck we're talking about? And then I will share my version of this, of how I've like worked through it as someone who has struggled with my relationship with food for a lot of my life. And just had like a huge, amazing win at Thanksgiving that was just like a really incredible way for me to see the progress I've made with this food journey. So Laura, talk about macros, food, how this works with your workouts.
Yes. So macros, just to give you guys an idea of what they are macronutrients. All of our food are made up of macronutrients, our proteins, our carbs, and our fats. These are the macro big nutrients in our food. There's also micronutrients, which are your vitamins and minerals within the foods that we eat. The reason I chose to do macros, I've done everything under the sun. I've, from the time I was very young and doing like, I can't remember the name of the shakes that my mom was doing.
Oh, yeah.
It's like I have been quote unquote dieting for 20 years. And so I've done keto, I've done a meal plan, I've done competitive bodybuilding, I've done, what else is there? Whole30. I've done, like shakes, like the isogenics 30-day cleanse. I've done cleanses. I've done all kinds of things. And why I landed on macros was because with all of those other diets, it was very hard to imagine doing it forever. And like for keto, for example, keto diet is where you're eating very, very low carbs and you're majority eating proteins and fats. For me, I'm like, I love my vegetables. I love my potatoes. I love my bread. I can't see myself never having those things again. It felt too restrictive. And with meal plans, a coach giving you a meal plan of like, here's what I want you to have for breakfast. Here's what I want you to have for lunch. There's not much flexibility. You don't have control. With macros, you're simply given, this is how much protein I want you to eat. This is how much carbs I want you to eat. And this is how many fats I want you to eat. And you get to fill those in the way that you want. There are guidelines. Of course, we don't want everyone having packaged food their entire, 100% of their food. We want whole foods close to earth 80% of the time. But for that other 20% of the time, have fun, have what you want. I love cookies. I love Mexican food. I love sushi. I love going out to dinner. And I can make all of that work within my macros. And with clients specifically, the biggest win I always get with the whole macro counting thing is you just learn with the foods that you love, you learn what they're made up of, and you learn how to use them to fuel your goals. So people that love bagels, have a bagel before your workout, have a bagel after your workout. Having those starchy carbs before or after a workout is extremely beneficial to help energize you for your workouts and help recover your muscles from the workout that you just did. And then prioritize your fibrous foods later on in the day to help satiate yourself so you're not going to bed feeling starving. So there's a strategy involved. You learn so much about the foods you're already eating. You make these tiny, small little changes that will help you get the results that you've always dreamed of. And it's something that you can do forever. A lot of people, not everybody. Not everyone can do it. I also struggled with an eating disorder for a decade. I had bulimia for a long time, and maybe not a decade. It started when I was like 13 for no good reason. Some girl was doing it. 13 years old. Isn't that insane?
It's insane.
And my, I've been healed from that for about 5-6 years now. And I feel like I've been doing macros for about 5-6 years now. And I do feel like it was healing for me. It truly helped me stop the bad behavior of, labeling foods good and bad, of binging because I was feeling so restricted on other diets. And yeah, it's just allowed a lot of freedom and flexibility for me, and healed a lot of food trauma for me. So
Yeah,
that's the
that's
gist.
incredible. And congratulations. I think that that's a big thing. Whether you're male or female, I think body image, I think food issues, I think all of us have it, whether it's binging, whether it's not eating healthy, like all these things. And I think if we go back to like what you said of aging, like for me, I want to be able to say yes to like hiking Machu Picchu when I'm 95. Like I really want to be that person where like my last, like, I don't know, month of my life is when my body decides to give out on me because I've taken such good care of her. And Jason's like, no, let's just go in a car accident. Like, let's not even have that last month. So, we've upped our game, but just thinking about that, the food situation for me, I think going into it, that was hard because I'm adding a workout, plus I'm adding food. And my default is if it's too hard to eat, I'm just not going to eat. And so that was like my big struggle with macros. But what was super fascinating to me was realizing how much fat was in food, like shocking amounts of fat. Like I was blown away when I started looking at labels, seeing that I could have almost the exact same food, but just eating different. So like instead of bacon, like you can have turkey bacon and get a ton of protein. Like it actually grills up way easier. It was kind of a fun puzzle. And like, I just got it to where it was like simple things. Like I understand it's fats, carbs, and proteins for every meal. And Laura, you did a great job. Cause like Jason, I go out to eat all the time. I'm on the road all the time. And so just even learning like, what can you eat at restaurants that works within macros? And agreed, it's not good or bad. Like I can straight up pound these amazing, like I love, Laura, I don't think I've even told you this. When I'm done working out, Uncrustable strawberry,
Ooh,
like
yes.
it's so good and it is amazing.
Yeah.
But to not have that good or bad is such a freeing thing. And so I really think the thing I loved was you said, Kiera, if you want to build muscle, you've got to actually like have enough protein to build this muscle. And so learning that I'm not having food just for pleasure. I'm having food to fuel these goals that I want of looking a certain way, of having the muscle strength to be able, like right now, I just don't want to be a weak, feeble grandma. Like that's really my goal, is to just not be that. And so it's like, build the glutes, build the hams, build the back, build the arms. Like, and it's been crazy because as I've been building muscle, I actually don't have as many problems because we've been able to like stabilize around my shoulders, stabilize around my knees. Like it still happens and there's still setbacks, but it's less and less compared to what it was. And so I knew you'd say food and workouts go hand in hand, but I think for everybody listening, I think just like a 1 or 2% change in each of these areas is a great start. So it's like do one squat and maybe think about like fats, proteins, and carbs, or maybe even just look at the labels of how many fats there are.
Yeah.
Like just look at that and see
your food.
And I think that would be a fun thing. So I know as we kick off the new year, as I know we roll into this, usually we're looking at goals for our businesses. And I'm hoping with this podcast that you look at goals for your life. Goals of like, I look at my life and I want to travel a ton. But to do that, this amazing body that I've been blessed with also needs to be taken care of. And so that's what I was hoping bringing Laura on, of like, as a thank you. She's done so much for me and just like healing my body. It's so fun when I hit gains at the gym and I'm like, Laura, we're freaking lifting like more than I ever thought I'd be able to. That has been so rewarding for me as a human. And so as a huge appreciation to Laura, like I want her on the podcast. I want to expose her to all of you. But secondly, it's a new year. And I feel like giving you tools and resources to get on your health journey if you want to have resources in the industry. So I wanted Laura to be an example for you of, hey, if it works, great. Reach out to her if you want to chat with her. She does men and women. She tends to coach more women than men. That's okay. But there's lots of great coaches out there for men and women. She even critiqued Jason in my workouts. Jason did a lot of workouts with me at home. So it was fun. He and I did them together. And I would tell him like, Laura says you need to get that leg up higher. Like it's not quite the right form. So that was a ton of fun we did together. But just having a resource out there, you could even follow her, look at kind of how she coaches. But just like learning the things that she's doing, I thought would be so valuable, because I hope that this year you give yourself not only the gift of growing your practice, but also becoming like having the body that you want, having the body that can fuel your dreams and desires, and truly honoring that body that does so much for you. So Laura, tell people how they can get in touch with you. I appreciate you so much. So just share with the world how they can connect with you, because I think you are such a gift to this world that I'm so grateful to know.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. So Instagram is probably one of the best ways to contact me. It's Laura Lee MYT. I also have a website, coachedbylaura.co, and you can apply for coaching on that website. But yeah, as Kiera said, well, I want to add on to what you said, that once you decide to start this journey, if you can commit to just like the small 1% to 2% change and never stop, you're never going to regret it. It's the most beautiful, amazing journey that I have ever done for myself. And I watch women do it every single day. And it's just, lives are changed, and experience of life just goes through the roof. It's just such a better experience. So yeah, just encouraging you, start and don't stop, and make it small, make it doable, but start and don't stop.
Yeah. Brilliant. I love it. And I will say, coming from someone who did not enjoy working out, I remember you said one time, like, you never regret going to the gym. And I've thought about that a lot. And I'm like, sometimes I regret driving to the gym because I don't want to be there. You've even asked me, like, are you excited to be here today? And I'm like, no, I don't want to be here. But every time I leave, I feel so good. And I think, just like, as you said, start and don't stop, and think about, like, our bodies do so much for us. This is the one little simple act we get to do back for it that serves it. And I think about, I'm going to do like a cheesy dental analogy, but telling so many patients about fluoride, we always say, like, this is the most proactive and preventative thing you can do for your teeth. And I feel like similarly, working out and eating well is the most proactive and preventative thing that we can do for our bodies for long-term health and sustainability. So Laura, thank you for what you've done. I would really recommend, I hope all of you reach out, connect, do something for your body this year. I know a year from now, when we're chatting in January of next year, you will be so grateful, like I am, that you cared about yourself enough, that you loved that body that does so much for you, that's allowed you to have the business and the life and the job and the family and all the different pieces, that taking 15 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour every day to honor it is the greatest gift you'll ever give yourself. So Laura, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Of course. And as always, thanks for listening. I'll catch you next time on the Dental 18 podcast.